3.
I think of all the
Skip.
diabetes memes and jokes I've seen, especially since it's around Easter. And if I eat all the candy, I'll be diabetic types comments abound. No, no, you won't, because that's not how diabetes works. She has sort of a point. You don't instantly get diabetes from eating some sugar. Imagine the field day my trolls will have when, if I ever choose to share this information. She just did. I remind myself that I'm under no obligation to share this or any other health information with the world just because I write about being fat. It's no one's business. I've never once claimed to be healthy by anyone's definition, nor would I. Still, I know that once I feel stronger, once I adjusted the diagnosis, I'll write about it. Not because I'm a masochist, but because I know there are other fat diabetics who will feel all the same shame and anguish I'm struggling to unpack at the moment. You can't
One
live in a
down,
fat body in a
four to
thin-centric,
go.
diet-obsessed culture without picking up on the idea that fat automatically equals unhealthy. I know right now there are fat haters reading who are jumping for joy and to conclusions. It's twisted, but they seem to get off on a fat person having any kind of illness, especially one they can blame on fat person's body size. I won't pretend I understand this logic because I never could. She's got it all wrong. People aren't jumping for joy. They warned you that if you don't take care of your diet, then diabetes is a real risk. And then you ignored them, and then you got diabetes. So all that frustration they were feeling as you ignored everything they said kind of gets released when you finally realize that what they warned you about could happen, has happened. They might even think that you'll learn something from this, but from reading this article, I'm guessing the answer is no, you learned nothing at all. It continues. One thing none of them, and sadly not enough medical professionals and family members and friends will consider, is the impact of chronic stress. When you live in a state of constant stress that negatively impacts the body in so many ways, most of which are correlated with body size. No one entirely understands the function of bariatric surgery on diabetes. Why is it gone for most patients almost immediately, even before any significant weight loss can happen? Why does it return for some patients, sometimes without weight gain? The answer is pretty simple here. When you can only eat like 800 calories a day, your blood sugar is going to get better real fast. And then, even if you still have diabetes, it's not going to affect you much anymore because your blood sugar levels are low. And it probably returns for some patients. I don't know this for a fact, but probably because they start abusing their body again and eating too many calories and forcing too much sugar down. She continues. Although some surgeons will still claim it cures diabetes, I've more often seen it referred to as a remission. I doubt any surgeons claim such a thing. And if they do, they're probably speaking loosely when what they really mean is remission. Remissions are, of course, all often too temporary, so selling these surgeries as a cure is disingenuous at best and unethical at worst. It negatively impacts our health in every possible way, from the weight bias of medical providers to the lack of accessibility for medical equipment that is illogical when you consider the obesity crisis is something we've been hearing about for decades now. If you know fat people exist, but you don't make changes in medical care to accommodate them, how worried are you really about their health? Wait a minute, that seems backward. If you know fat is bad for you and you do nothing to deal with the problem, are they really worried about their own health? She continues, we are berated constantly, frequently for our size in the name of health. Then when we need care, we can't get it because of the implicit biases held against us by medical professionals. She actually hasn't presented any evidence that she's not receiving medical care, so this just seems to be her punching at shadows. She continues, I'm lucky. My doctor has been my doctor for a long time, and she was supportive when I chose to stop dieting for my mental and, yes, believe it or not, physical health. The story for me became a lot clearer at this point. So she was probably already obese. And then she stopped caring about her diet at all. And then what happened? Oh, she gained weight. Oh, she got diabetes. Oh, how did this happen?
2 down, 3 to go.
What in the world? It must be because she once thought about eating a piece of broccoli that caused the diabetes. That must be it. Anyway, I know with her help, plus support from fat-positive weight-inclusive programs like Blank, I will figure out the best way to manage my condition. It will take some trial and error, but I'll get there. Yeah, the best way to manage your condition is to take the medication the doctor tells you and almost certainly reduce the amount of sugar you intake. This might cause some weight loss. She continues, still, it's not easy to get any new diagnoses. let alone one, people will say is all your fault. Aside, it's not all her fault. It's mostly her fault. As an example, see that comment she had about ignoring her diet just a few seconds ago. She continues, it won't matter to them that this is not necessarily how diabetes works, nor will they care that plenty of fat people never develop diabetes, or that plenty of thin people will. And yet, statistically, obese people are more likely to get diabetes, sometimes by a factor of 2 or 3 times more likely, depending on how obese they are. Strange that. It's almost like statistics aren't certainties. She continues, to the troll, they say, feel free to revel in my diagnosis. Why would I revel in it? I'm not happy that you have diabetes. I'm angry that you ignored the advice to take care of your health. She continues, just be honest about it. You don't care about my health or that of any other fat person. If you did, you'd stop demeaning fat people. Oh, she still continues. She must be exhausting to talk to in person. In fact, you not only don't care, you actually want us to be unhealthy. If you didn't, you'd stop contributing to the chronic stress that absolutely negatively impacts our health outcomes. You'd use your considerable energy to fight for change, to make our lives and healths better instead of worse. You mean by suggesting eating healthy? You hate when we do that. Kyom He Stever replies, meanwhile, I introduced the vegetables back into my diet, started eating reasonable portions of food, and got out of the pre-diabetic range in all of 3 months. I didn't even have to get out of the morbidly obese bracket to do it, although I'm well on my way. It legitimately saddens me how many people just give up and give in to painful and debilitating health issues when the turnaround can be so fast. Heck, I completely got rid of my acid reflux after just 2 weeks of healthy eating, and I used to pop Tums 8 to 10 times a day. It's like confronting the uncomfortable reality that obesity is unhealthy isn't even worth saving their own life. They would rather get diabetes than admit they were wrong about anything. So how does that make you feel?
Not great. Everybody loves her because she's heartless.
Even worth saving their own life.
Sorry,
They
I
would rather
hate
get diabetes than admit they were wrong about anything.
ads.
Black Echo brings us. I hate the advice that doctors give type 2 diabetics. They don't even try this. Well, at least that's been my experience. Just give you metformin and send you on your way. Someone else. The disease can be more insidious, more silent in type 2 because docs fail to tell us to test and track the changes happening all day. So the patient has no info to gain insight into the level and frequency of blood sugar spikes or being out of range.
3 down.
What's worse, they don't care. I have a hard time believing that doctors don't give people advice about how to take care of their diabetes.
This is Mutt
Someone else.
Fitness.
I don't think that they are really
Definitely
educated
go
enough
follow
about any
him.
type to know what to do. They only
He
know
has a lot of good
stereotypes and
information.
myths about type 2. They never go any further to research exactly what diabetes is. That's sad, but it's the truth. I
I'm a
hate
little
calling
sore.
that advice. You do have to advocate for
Because I was
yourself. It's not that hard to say, okay,
doing
I
a
will start
completely separate
metformin,
workout
but can I also
beforehand.
see a dietitian to see if maybe I can clean up my diet?
But
My doc wants to put me on
I also
control
did a
meds when I
PR.
tested 276. She was
Finally,
surprised when I said
I
I
was
wanted to
finally
get it
able
down with diet alone.
to
But she
shoulder
offered me a
press
referral
my
and it's helpful a lot.
75-pound.
Most people don't want to
kettle
make any
bell.
changes, so if you do,
So I'm going to
speak up.
post that.
Cats and
afterwards.
sunglasses replies,
I got it
but
on
diet
video.
doesn't cause type 2 diabetes.
I was able to
and
do it on
single
both
dietitian
hands
is
this time.
fat-phobic. So they say they want it, but would be offended if the
Pretty
doctor
excited
brought
about
it
that.
up. Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Progression is definitely
Zaza brings us.
amazing.
How to make sure the fat community won't hate you if you lose weight. Don't do befores and afters. Seriously, they're played out. And 2, don't disparage the fat community. I know, real complicated and difficult, right? Shocking. While I agree about don't disparage the fat community, the not doing befores and afters, you don't get to tell other people what they can and can't do, especially for something like this. Especially if it's just because you're bored of them. If you're bored of them, don't look at them. The internet is big. You don't have to look at everything on it. Saddle Shoes brings us something a little bit crazy. Listen, I'm a firm believer in evidence-based medicine. I don't have the kind of mistrust for medical science that leads one to be anti-vax or going to crystal healing or homeopathy or whatever. I generally agree that the first person you should ask about your health is a doctor. But after AIDS was mistaken for a cancer caused by being gay, maybe a symptom of the disease of gayness, and all women's issues were chalked up to hysteria, also known as having a uterus, and all the many racist medical practices that have gone on and still go on. Franco Pietro has a quick little reply. Listen, I don't trust medicine. I'm just saying it's wrong. I just don't understand the very specific kind of left-leaning individual who can understand all of that and is like, no, but fatness is the one kind of human diversity that actually just is itself an illness. And actually you can just diagnose someone with being fat and not explore their health care further. They'll lose weight if you want basic dignity, cello. Like sometimes I get these replies to some of my posts and I'll go to the blog to block them, probably expecting to see like a racist or a troll or something. And I find the blog of an otherwise seemingly somewhat socially aware, thoughtful individual who apparently lost all compassion and critical thinking skills the second a fatty was mentioned. It's not the only marginalized category of people that experiences this phenomenon, but that doesn't stop it from being infuriating. There's a very specific kind of despair and helplessness felt when looking at someone who by all rights should be an ally and hearing them say, we need to end all human suffering, except you. I want to reply to the end of that. We need to end all human suffering, except you. That's not probably what they're
Or
saying at
down,
all.
one
What
to
they're
go.
probably saying is we want to end your suffering as well by having you eat a more healthy diet and lose weight. That doesn't mean they're trying to kill you. That means they're trying to make you healthy. They are not the same thing. You won't die if you become healthy. Green Bambi brings us. Ways weight gain has negatively impacted me. My lower back has more stress on it. Yoga positions and Pilates positions are harder. My feet hurt all the time in so many different ways. Certain positions, tricks feel inaccessible and I miss them. Varicose veins hurt. Yes, weight gain has negatively impacted me. My body hurts in ways it didn't. But there are so many caveats to this before someone goes, I knew it, all people are hurting in their bodies. None of this makes me bad or disgusting or unworthy person. Okay. None of this makes someone else allowed to message me unsolicited health advice or weight loss advice. Okay. Lots of plus people do not experience what I currently am experiencing. Yeah, I don't believe for a second that any obese person finds yoga positions and Pilates positions as easy as they would if they were thinner. I don't believe it. And I don't believe there are certain people who find that varicose veins don't hurt. People assume a health status when they look at me, and it makes me feel really awful. Let's all work to not do that. If the health status she's referring to is obesity, that's a health status you can actually figure out pretty easily by looking at somebody. If a plus-size person wants to work on ways to alleviate pain in their body, we can cheer them on without hoping that they will become the thinnest version of themselves possible. But if the pain is caused by them being overweight, them becoming less overweight will reduce their amount of pain. Is this a difficult concept in some way? You can't just keep getting stronger and stronger to compensate for being heavier and heavier. At some point, your body and muscles won't be able to keep up. You also can't just build up muscle in your joints. That's not how joints work. Loved Up Bunny brings us a parent who'd rather risk the life of their child than admit that being obese is dangerous.
All right.
My daughter needs her wisdom teeth out, and she's having some disorder. An oral surgeon said he would not give her IV anesthesia because her BMI is too high and she could die. Emphasis the person, not me. She has no other underlying cardiopulmonary conditions. This feels like textbook anti-fat bias. I'd like to dispute this, but Googling is a morass. Does anyone have resources handy on this claim as to whether it's good science or BMI BS? Someone replies, the BMI is garbage. I recommend the podcast blank episode on BMI. They cover all the reasons it's a total load of useless garbage and why the healthcare industry loves using it. Megan Bobster replies, Dear Dr. Oral Surgeon, you need to go forward with the surgery because despite the risks to my daughter's life that you laid out earlier, I have found a podcast episode that says you're wrong. Feel free to listen to it since your 4 years of education wasn't enough. Sincerely, delusional parent.
Whew, all done.
Lexi Black Market brings us. New guidelines suggest children struggling with obesity should be evaluated and treated early and aggressively.
Whew.
The American Academy of Pediatrics says treatments can include medications for kids as young as 12 and surgery for those as young as 13. Someone replies, while trans youth are being
Right.
denied medical care and bodily autonomy in some states, fat
Make sure
children
you
are
catch
actively being groomed to hate themselves.
my next
or
video.
alter their bodies with a surgery that leads to a plethora of
Showcasing my
health problems in
PR.
adulthood. This is sick. I'm so angry.
See y'all later.
Uninstall IE replies. 1. Vulnerable minority denied medical care. 2. Doctors want